Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. During this art break, man, we've seen a bunch of different stories that kind of piqued our interest, and from time to time, you saw us pop up once in a while, do a live, and then kind of just disappear, then pop up again and do a live and then disappear again, right? But there were some things that were going down, some topics and things that were being said that I said that we'll definitely have to talk about once we come back. But one of the ones that had a lot of people talking, like Sports and Fitness Rants, Too Raw for TV, and a few others, were some comments that Rich Paul made. Now, as you guys know, Rich Paul has a new show with Max Kellerman. I think it's Game Over is the name of the podcast, and the show has been out for about probably a month now or so, a few weeks now, and some of the times when they've made headlines is usually related to the things that have to do with basketball, especially when it comes to like Rich Paul talking about Michael Jordan. Those are the ones that really gained a lot of traction. The last thing that he said that made a lot of news was when he said that he would choose Michael Jordan in the end of a game to take the final shot. A lot of people are like, what is this guy doing? This is LeBron's agent. Like, what are we doing here? But then he said that, I would take LeBron to start a franchise 100 times out of 100 times. And then I think later on TMZ caught up with him and he kind of clarified what he was saying and all of that, right? But anyway, there was this topic that had a lot of people kind of fired up. And I came across a post here from Complex that I want to show you guys, and it says the post. It says Rich Paul shares the real reason why people buy Michael Jordans, and in the caption it says Rich Paul shares his thoughts on why people buy Air Jordans, and there's more than one reason. So what we want to do now is we want to actually play what Rich Paul had to say here about why he believes that, you know, the reasons that the Jordans are so popular, and I'm going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Rich Paul here.
Back to North Carolina, etc.
Right.
He comes Carolina
with the powder blue. Yeah.
It was only, by the way, back then it was only 3 colorways, and so if you bought a pair of shoes. But here's the other thing: people didn't buy MJs because they wanted to be just like Michael Jordan. That was half of the people, half of the consumers. You know what the other half was? They wanted to be like Max, who had the BMW and the cute girl that had on Michael Jordan.
Sure.
So now,
the influencers.
if you get both of those consumers, you have the entire market share.
That's interesting.
Because
so you have to have the elite athlete that's different than.
Excellent. So you heard what Rich Paul had to say, that essentially it was the drug dealers and the D-boys that made it popular. What are my thoughts about this? First of all, a lot of people were upset with Rich Paul for making those comments. Number one, I remember reading through the video where he said that, and one of the people said, is Rich Paul using Michael Jordan for clicks, right? You had that there as well. What are my thoughts about this? It is clear to me, as someone observing this from the outside, it is clear to me that these podcasts, whether it's Mind the Game or Game Over or whatever it is, a part of it has to do with either trying to rewrite the history of LeBron James or retell the stories of other great players that people feel are on the same level, or the people that feel that LeBron is on the same level as them. In the case of him saying what made Jordan so popular, look, Michael Jordan was a global phenomenon, and there hasn't been a basketball player like him since. Really, there hasn't. Prior to him, obviously, you had sensational players like Dr. J, Jerry West, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. And since Jordan, of course, you've had people like Allen Iverson, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, Stephen Curry, Victor Wembanyama now, if we're talking about contemporary. But out of all of these guys, and they all kind of made their mark in one way, with the exception of Victor because he's new. MJ was unlike, like none of them were able to capture the minds of basketball fans around the world the same way Michael Jordan did. None of them did, right? And it has nothing to do with drug dealers buying Jordan shoes and making them popular. Jordan himself made it popular for these guys to buy those shoes. If Michael Jordan wasn't doing what he was doing on an NBA court, they wouldn't be attracted to him. In order for them to feel like, man, I gotta go cop these Jordans. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't have felt that. They wouldn't have felt that. If that were the case, why can't we say the same thing about LeBron shoes, for example? Why? There's something that, for whatever reason, Jordan was able to do in terms of the sneaker market that no one else has. The only other person that I've seen come close in terms of NBA circles is Kobe Bryant, because Kobe's shoes are the most worn shoes by NBA players today, right? They're the most worn shoes. Like NBA players wear Kobe's the most. But why not? Why didn't these D-boys find? Why didn't they see something in LeBron for them to make them go out there and be like, yo, we got to get these LeBrons, and then for them to influence the culture? Why? What is it that LeBron is not doing that Jordan did? And to me, it goes beyond that. It wasn't just the shoes. Michael Jordan made it cool to even rock a bald head. He made it cool. He influenced rappers, Jada Kiss, and everybody was rocking a bald head confidently because of Jordan. Because of Michael Jordan, Fat Joe, and all Michael Jordan. Everybody talking about they want to be like, so to distill it down to, oh, it was like, you know, like, let's stop. There were people that were going out of their way to get those Jordan shoes, and they were not drug dealers, people that could not afford it, that still went out of their way to get Jordans. That's the other part. Drug dealers could afford Jordans. A lot of the people that buy Jordans, they save up for them. And really, you can't afford. I mean, you're paying $150, $160, $70 for a pair of shoes. Like, bro, there are a lot of people that couldn't afford Jordans that were standing online to get Jordans. You had people getting smoked over a pair of Michael Jordan shoes. So to just like, I don't know because I haven't seen Michael Jordan's agent come out here and constantly try to make a case for Michael Jordan or dissect his career in a way that makes it like, okay, MJ is the GOAT, and let me tell you why. Right? And the fact that these guys still feel the need to continuously do this, it says to me that their guy is not the GOAT, because they're still arguing on his behalf. They're still trying to make a case for him. And now we're trying to say, well, like the sneaker game, look, no one has dominated the sneaker game the way Michael Jordan did. No one. Jordan still sells the most shoes to this day. And you want to tell me it's because of the D-boys? Like, who are you kidding here? Like, so, like, D-boys didn't like any other sneaker. They didn't like Converses and nothing like that. It's just Jordans that they like. Come on, man. They saw what they saw. They saw what they saw. Like, let's knock it off, man. But yo, that's this the new media. This is the new era, man. This is the new era. You know what I mean? This is a new era. This is what we doing. Rich Paul recently made some headlines for some of the things that he had to say about Michael Jordan's sneakers, right? Where he essentially tried to explain what made Jordan so popular, and he said that some of it had to do with the fact that drug dealers made his shoes popular. And I'm like, what are we doing, right? And a lot of people came for him and it was like, yo, what, like what's up with this dude, man? Like why are you doing this? Like, you coming off looking like a hater right now. Like, that's what a lot of people were saying. Like, yo, son, you looking like a hater right now, bro. Like what are we doing, right? So people called him out on that. So apparently he heard that, what people had to say about him, and he decided to kind of respond to it. And during his response, he actually ended up doubling down, believe it or not. he actually ended up doubling down on his position and made it worse. Because now he started talking about people like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence started to make Michael Jordan shoes popular. I'm like, you got to be kidding me at this point, man. You got to be kidding me. So for those of you who didn't hear what Rich Paul had to say, I want you guys to sit down, get your popcorn ready, listen to everything that he had to say here, and I'm going to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to Rich Paul.
So for the visual learners, we have Brand Jordan, or Michael Jordan at this time. Michael Jordan had two really, really, really great partners. One in Nike, of many, but these are two I chose. And the other one in Gatorade.
Okay.
Now, from a marketing perspective, they told two of the greatest stories. Nike, Air.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I can fly. If you put these shoes on, they had people jumping off garages.
Rich, I had a pair of Jordans, like the Jordan 3s. You never saw someone with less hops than especially me at 13 or whatever, getting this high off the ground with my tongue out of my mouth.
Did you feel like you can fly?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, I did.
From a Gatorade perspective, it was the fuel to win. And it was Gatorade that created the lullaby, like Mike, if I could be like Mike. Exactly, right?
Had the whole world trying to be like Mike.
So what's the importance in those two things? Not only is it the product of hydration, the product of footwear, etc., it's also the media spin that they to really push these campaigns. They're pushing it. And at a time where we didn't have social media, people didn't have computers in their house in abundance, there wasn't much. You had sports, and he was at the forefront of it, right? Then you have the NBA. Like All Eyes on Me, All Eyes on Mike. It was clear. It was him, and it was everybody else.
Yeah.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's the other thing. This is one that it's a little touchy.
Timing a crack epidemic? What does that mean?
Yes, because the timing, not just the crack epidemic, but also hip-hop, when you think about the first influencers were guys like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What shoes did he wear?
This is getting back to what you said, and you used me as an example because I was sitting in front of you. You said, it's not that Michael Jordan did this, it's that the influencer who had the BMW or whatever, you said, like Max with the fly girl and the BMW. So you're saying
what
that
I was saying was the hustler was the influencer in the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood.
Especially in the black community.
In the neighborhood, the crack epidemic wound up concentrating wealth in a few people who could floss in front of the neighborhood.
Because these people had basically not even careers or high-paying jobs. They just had hustles. So now when you bring forth the crack epidemic, it created a revenue stream amongst a group of consumers that, number one, would have never had that dollar to spend, and they damn sure wouldn't have had it to spend excessively. So and you're saying because crack was more accessible, cheaper, et cetera, it had a different effect than, say,
heroin, because it's not like the drug trade wasn't always there.
But that was a different time. In the 70s, people wore shoes and suits and pants.
Not jeans and sneakers.
In the late 80s and 90s, people wore sneakers. So now when I'm talking about the timing of it, not just the actual being able to the excessiveness from a dollar, right? Because you're creating this dollar, but at the same time, it's also the thing of choice, the actual thing of choice.
Because the idea of like social media influencer, is like what you're saying is pre-social media influencer. There were still social influencers. There just wasn't any social media.
And then when you talk about what they call product seeding or product placement, what they did extremely well was every guy who was somebody on a show, they placed the product. So you couldn't see it on Instagram. So where'd you see it?
TV.
Oh, I saw in this episode of The Fresh Prince or this episode of Martin. And then you heard it in the music. Oh, and then on my way to school, I not only saw, because many people wasn't seeing the games. The Bulls played on WGN, by the way, and it wasn't like
I
you
could
had all
watch the
these.
Bulls if it was nationally televised or if they played the Knicks. That
That's
was it. Yeah.
Because your local feed,
Yeah.
right? But I did get to see, in my case, my Uncle Lance or Bernard Sawyer, just different people that in my neighborhood that had. So now I'm influenced by that, and I love Michael Jordan. So now I want, not only because Mike is wearing them, but I also want them because these guys are wearing them too. And when you created that, that's how he created the greatest athlete brand ever, because Michael Jordan didn't share the market. He controlled the market. There's a difference between the two. Most athletes have a market share. He controlled the market. So much so, when people had children, they bought, my little cousin came home in the booties.
Yeah.
Right?
Little
This has been things for generations. And what happens is the I-95 is what they call the Gold Coast of footwear.
Great. So you heard what he had to say. I just feel like what these dudes is doing is so dirty. It's so greasy. Like, it's just so greasy to me. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems so desperate. It just seems so desperate to me. Number one. Number two, Michael Jordan and what he did on the court drove the hysteria around his shoes and his brand. If MJ wasn't doing what he did on the court, there would be no Jordan. But you can't market mediocrity. You can't promote. You can't. If that were the case, if it was just as simple as, oh, let me just market him like this and this and that, then you could market anybody. And if you look at in the modern day where we have social media, which is prevalent, which was not prevalent then, it would be much, much easier to replicate the effect that Michael Jordan had. But what we see time and time again is that we can't. Let me put it to you in these terms. Michael Jordan outsells LeBron, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant's shoes by himself every single year. I'll repeat that once more. Michael Jordan outsells Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, and LeBron James combined every single year without a social media presence. Do you see Michael Jordan on Instagram? Do you see him on Twitter? LeBron has 200 million followers between Instagram and Twitter. I don't know how many Stephen Curry has and all of these other guys have. You have all of these apps and all of that stuff. He doesn't have any of that. But why? So how come he still outsells them? Because the images that Jordan left in the minds of fans around the world are indelible. Michael Jordan has fans all over the world. People that don't even speak English are fans of Michael Jordan because of what he did on the basketball court. And MJ wasn't like a talker. So it's not like as if, I really became a Jordan fan and a basketball fan because of the things that Michael Jordan said. No, it's what he did. And what did he do? He won 3 championships in a row, 6 in 1 decade after taking a year off, 2 three-peats in the same decade, plus scoring titles, MVPs, finals MVP, all of these different things. That's what drove the Jordan brand and the Jordan shoe. That's what made Martin Lawrence and Bad Boy say, I want to be like Mike. That's what made Jordan who he was. That's what put Michael Jordan in rap songs by Biggie and all of these other guys. Were there not any other NBA players playing at that time? Wasn't Barkley playing? Wasn't Ewing playing? Wasn't Hakeem playing? Wasn't all of these cats playing? So why didn't they do the same thing if it was just up to marketing? If it was just up to him? And they've tried to replicate it. They did the same with AI. Allen Iverson, when he came out with the Reeboks, they was doing commercials with Jada Kiss and all of that. Yo, they did it already. Jordan set the blueprint, but everyone has fallen short. And to say that it's because of Will Smith, no. You got it reversed. It's what Jordan did was so incredible, it caused them to want to be like Mike and rock bald heads and all of this kind of stuff. It was because of him. not the other way around. You can't market your way into that kind of into those results as an NBA player. You can't. Because with all of the marketing dollars that we have today, all of the mechanism that we have today, the machine. So why aren't we doing it today then? If it was that easy. It just, to me, this just comes off as desperate. It just seems very, very desperate to me, if I'm being honest with you. So there are a lot of things that have been happening in the world of politics over the last 3-4 days with Venezuela and all of that, but we'll probably get to that a little bit later. But I want to talk about the news that just came out this morning, and it's centered on Senator Mark Kelly. Now, funny enough, we talked about him quite a bit towards the end of last year because he made a lot of headlines over some comments that him and some of his colleagues made when they put together this video where they were essentially imploring military members that, look, you have to remember that you're not meant to follow unlawful orders. And when he said that, he sent the president and some of his supporters into an absolute rage. Some people said that this is sedition. He's telling the military to disobey the rule of the chain of command and all. It was just a bunch of stuff. But it was that video that initially kicked this entire thing off. So what I want to do is, because maybe some of you haven't seen it or don't remember it, I want to quickly play the sound from that video because it ties into a lot of what we're going to be discussing here today. So take a listen to what Senator Mark Kelly and some of his colleagues had to say just a few months ago.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
But from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
you must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Excellent. So he said that. And at the time when we were talking about this, we were reacting to some of the comments that Stephen A. Smith made. Because Stephen A. Smith had gone off on him telling, how dare you tell the military to disobey the orders? And I'm sitting here saying to myself, like, did you even listen to the video? Where did he say that the military should disobey the chain of command? They said you don't have to follow unlawful orders, which, as it turns out, because we asked a lot of military members to weigh in, is what Senator Mark Kelly saying true? And they said, yes, it's true. They teach you this. And I was like, oh, so what's the issue here? But I think what happened was the president got upset because it's like, who are you? How dare you define me? How dare you define me? And essentially he worked through Pete Hegseth to basically try to reprimand him, which is who exactly we want to get to. So Pete Hegseth put up a statement today on his Twitter, and he said the following. Was it today? Yes, yesterday, today, however you want to characterize it. And it says, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. 6 weeks ago, Senator Mark Kelly and 5 other members of Congress released a reckless and seditious video that was clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline. As a retired Navy captain who is still receiving a military pension, Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice, and the Department of War and the American people expect justice. Therefore, in response to Senator Mark Kelly's seditious statement and his pattern of reckless misconduct, the Department of War is taking administrative action against Captain Mark E. Kelly. The department has initiated retirement grade determination proceedings under 10 U.S.C. blah, 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 with reduction in his retired grade resulting in correspondent reduction in retired pay. To ensure this action, the Secretary of War has also issued a formal letter to censor, which outlines the totality of Captain, for now, Kelly's reckless misconduct. This censor is a necessary process step and will be placed on Captain Kelly's official and permanent military personnel file. Captain Kelly has been provided notice of the basis for this action and his 30 days to submit a response. The retirement grade determination process directed by Secretary Hegseth will be completed within 45 days. Captain Kelly's status as a sitting United States Senator does not exempt him from accountability, and further violations could result in further action. These actions are based on Captain Kelly's public statements from June through December 2025, in which he characterized lawful military operations as illegal and counseled members of the armed forces to refuse lawful orders. This conduct was seditious in nature and violated Articles 133 and 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, to which Captain Kelly remains subject as a retired officer receiving pay. This post generated 8 million views. 8 million. I'll just read some things what people said. At Grok, has Pete Hegseth ever said that U.S. service members have a duty to refuse illegal or unconstitutional orders? And other people, I'm fully convinced that if Congress had been briefed on operations in Venezuela, Mark Kelly would have called up Maduro and let him know about it. And a whole bunch, that's from Matt Van Swol and a whole bunch of other people. One other guy said retirement pay. This guy commits treason and you dock his retirement pay. He's already filthy rich from serving in Congress. And people just kept going on and on and on and on and on and on. What are my thoughts about this? Folks, we are living in scary times. Scary, 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 scary times. Okay? Scary times. Because based on the video we played for you, that we just played for you, where did he say that you should disobey legal orders? We just played it for you. We just played the video for you. You heard it. Where in there did you hear him say our laws are you can disobey legal orders? Where did he say that? He never said that. He never said. Look, they're trying to go after him for daring to say that, because these guys are trying to rule with an iron fist. And if anyone steps out of line at all in any kind of way, you will be dealt with. That's the message to me. That looks like that they're trying to send. Now, Mark Kelly didn't back down, right? He responded to him. We're going to get to that in a subsequent video. Obviously, depends on the order in which you're watching today's shows. But this is pretty scary stuff, because when we produce the shows, and a lot of people tuned into those shows, a lot of military members currently serving, veterans, they all said that no, Mark Kelly's correct. So the people, Hegseth is saying this based off of what, if he's referring to that video, he didn't say it. He didn't say it. And a lot of people are upset that this is even happening. I had to Google Mark Kelly's record. It says during his Navy career, Kelly received 2 Defensive Superior Service Medals, 1 Legion of Merit, 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 4 Air Medals, 2 individual and 2 strike flight, with combat 5, 2 Navy commendation medals, 1 Navy Achievement Medal, 2 Southwest Asia Service Medals, and it just keeps going on and on. And this is the guy that's now been reduced all the way down to, we're going to take your pension after all of this service to the country? After all of this service, and essentially just telling military members, look, you don't have to follow unlawful orders? Really? This is where we are. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Not based off of who you like, based off of what you heard. The comments that he made in the video that we just played for you, did they sound seditious to you? Did they? You let me know what you think. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. But I think they're trying to make an example out of him. We have some very serious news coming out today, and it has to do with Senator Mark Kelly. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth put out a scathing message on his Twitter account about a day or so ago that I want to quickly read, and this post generated 8 million comments. I'm going to just quickly read it quickly. It says, 6 weeks ago, Senator Mark Kelly and 5 other members of Congress released a reckless and seditious video that was clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline. As a retired Navy captain who is still receiving a military pension, Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice. And the Department of War and the American people expect justice. Therefore, in a response to Senator Mark Kelly's seditious statements and his pattern of reckless misconduct, the Department of War is taking administrative action against Captain Mark E. Kelly. The department has initiated retirement grade determination proceedings under 10 USC with reductions to his retired grade, resulting in corresponding reduction in retired pay. To ensure this action, the Secretary of War has also issued a formal letter of censure, which outlines the totality of Captain, for now, Kelly's reckless misconduct. This censure is a necessary process step and will be placed in Captain Kelly's official and permanent military personnel file. Captain Kelly has been provided notice of the basis for this action and has 30 days to submit a response. The retirement grade determination process directed by Secretary Hegseth will be completed within 45 days. Captain Kelly's status as a sitting United States Senator does not exempt him from accountability, and further violations could result in further action. These actions are based on Captain Kelly's public statements from June through December 2025, in which he characterized lawful military operations as illegal and counseled members of the armed forces to refuse lawful orders. And then it goes on to say a few things. I want to quickly play something because he brought up that video. Let's play quickly what Mark Kelly had to say, him and some of his colleagues, about unlawful and lawful orders quickly, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say there.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military,
And intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Excellent. So you heard what he had to say. Where in there did you hear him say disobey lawful orders? Where? He said it nowhere. He said it nowhere. We all know this. He said it nowhere. But just when you thought that Mark Kelly was probably just going to back down, he decided to fight back. We came across a video here from ABC News, and it says Senator Mark Kelly and former Rep. Gabby Gifford speak out. So what we want to do is we want to play his response because he had a fiery one, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what Senator Mark Kelly had to say in response to what Pete Hegseth had to say here. Take a listen to that there.
I have a right, just like every other American, to say what I think, what I believe.
This morning, Senator Mark Kelly firing back at Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's censure, claiming the retired Navy captain made reckless and seditious statements, including in this video directed at U.S. service members.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
Hegseth alleging Kelly and other lawmakers counseled members of the armed forces to refuse lawful orders.
Is there anything in retrospect that you would have said or done differently over these last several months?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I basically repeated what is in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is the law for the military. Members of the military need to follow the law. It's very simple.
Upon the video's November release, President Trump calling the message punishable by death and resharing a social media post calling for participants in the video to be hanged. Trump later saying he was not threatening death.
I said something that the president and Pete Hegseth didn't like. And because of that, the president said I should be hanged, I should be prosecuted. This is un-American. And this sends a chilling message.
How do you respond to critics who say your message risks being read through a partisan lens inside what should be a nonpartisan military?
It's not partisan. I'm a member of the Armed Services Committee. I'm on the Intelligence Committee. And I would have expected that if this president said anything about what we said, it would have been, of course you don't follow illegal orders. But not this guy, because he looks at this as maybe somehow as a threat to his authority.
The censure will result in a demotion of Kelly's rank and retirement benefits. Kelly, who served over 25 years in the U.S. Navy, and his wife, former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, vowing to fight the action with everything they've got.
Let me make this perfectly clear, though, that Gabby and I are not people that back down.
No way, Jose.
From anything, from any kind of fight.
Now, this censure is more of an administrative action. It is less severe than a court-martial. The defense secretary is warning that the senator, his reaction to this may result in discipline and that it could subject him to criminal prosecution or further administrative action. But as you heard there, they say they're fighting back and they have 30 days to respond now.
That's a very strong couple, both of them.
Yes. Thank you, Rebecca.
Excellent. So you heard what he had to say. What are my thoughts about this? Folks, we are in some very dangerous times. Because to me, as an American citizen and a taxpayer, it looks as if to me they're trying to basically silence him and make an example out of him that if anyone, whether you served or not, questions anything that we're doing, you're going to be dealt with. At the beginning of his statements, he said that, let me quickly read that part towards the end. It says, Captain Kelly knows he is it says, as a retired Navy captain who is still receiving a military pension. What does his pension have to do with this? Are you going to reprimand him by taking away his pension for saying something you don't like? He said, Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice. It's almost as if to say, don't you know that we can discipline you by taking away your pension or reducing it for saying things that we don't agree with? What else is that? Aren't they trying to discipline him publicly? And aren't they trying to make an example out of him? Well, it looks like Senator Mark Kelly's not backing down. And the part about all of this that kills me is that this is a man that served his nation exceptionally. Exceptionally. I mean, during his Navy career, Kelly received 2 Defense Superior Service Medals, 1 Legion of Merit, 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 4 Air Medals, with Combat 5, 2 Navy Commendation Medals, with 1 Combat 5, 1 Navy Achievement Medal, 2 Southwest Asian Service Medal. This is a decorated man that served in the Navy. And now all of a sudden we're acting like as if he's just some seditious guy that lost his mind. This is where we are. And I think it's important to say, look, there are a lot of people that support what Pete Hegseth is saying, and there are a lot of people that disagree with him. A lot of people, including the senator himself. But I'm trying to figure out, based on what he said, him and what his colleagues said in that video, did he say anything that sounded seditious to you? He would have been wrong if he said disobey the chain of command. That's not what he said. He said you don't have to follow unlawful orders, which, by the way, is true. Do you know how I know this? Because in some of the shows that we produced around this topic, we've gotten a lot of people who have served to weigh in on this matter, and they said Senator Mark Kelly's 100% correct. That's what they said. This is exactly what they said. Folks, we are living in some very, very precarious times. And everyone better people better put on their seatbelts because we don't know where this thing is going. We do not know where this thing is going. Max Kellerman has officially lost his mind. He's officially lost his mind, and this is what we need to talk about here today. So Max Kellerman, right? A person that we have defended over the years on our channel because of how I felt that he was mistreated at ESPN working with Stephen A. Smith, and because of some of the things that was said about said about Max Kellerman by Stephen A. Smith, even when he was out of the spotlight. I've been defending Max for the longest time. I'm sure he's seen some of our videos. Marcellus Wiley knows I've been defending dude for a long time. So when we got the news that Max Kellerman may be coming back, and I used to check, is Max Kellerman coming back this year? Is Max Kellerman coming back this year? And I never heard from him. So when we got the news that Max Kellerman was coming back to media, a lot of us were excited, right? Because I liked him. Some people didn't, but I did. And he was going to be coming back in some kind of boxing capacity, I think with Netflix and all these other things. And then we heard that Max Kellerman was going to be doing a podcast with Rich Paul. As you guys know, Rich Paul is the agent of LeBron James, and LeBron James had an issue with Stephen A. Smith. So I was like, maybe there's a little bit of chess going on over here and all that, right? So we had, and matter of fact, Max Kellerman has addressed Stephen A. Smith on that show. Cool. But when we heard it was going to be working with Rich Paul, a lot of us were like, Rich Paul? That's LeBron guy. That's LeBron's guy. And what you notice about a lot of LeBron guys in media is that, man, these guys can twerk it up. All they do is sit up there and twerk it up, holler and scream, throw honey at each other, slap each other with honey sticks, and it just becomes a sticky situation with them, right? That's all they do. They twerk it up, and they do it all in an attempt to uplift LeBron James, right? So some people are a little bit like, okay, let's see what Max is going to do here. In some of the episodes, some of the earlier episodes, Max Kellerman was kind of pushing back on some of the points and assertions from Rich Paul. But then the inevitable took place. Max Kellerman went out there and said something that absolutely floored NBA fans to the point where they started ripping him into shreds. And I heard about this during while we were on break. The person I heard talking about it was Sports and Fitness Rants, and something was going off. Like, something was going off. And he heard it from Too Raw for TV. So today I was like, okay, we're going to talk about it when we come back. But I couldn't find the clip. I messaged Too Raw. I looked all over the place. I couldn't find the clip. So luckily, we were able to find the clip. And what was the clip? It was essentially of him saying LeBron is the greatest defender. The 2013 LeBron James is the greatest defender ever. And I said, I got to hear it. So we were able to hunt it down and find it. So what we want to do is I want to play what Max Kellerman had to say. I want you guys to listen to it, and I want to read you some of the audience reaction to what Max said. Take a listen to Max Kellerman here.
And it's like, it's not just the Iguodala's or Aaron Gordon's giving up being the primary scorer on a team or something like that. It's also the star giving up the idea that they can just play their way, right? Like they have to make some sacrifices.
Yeah, normally it's not the superstar guy that's going to be the all-defensive guy.
Doesn't have to be all defense.
I'm just saying.
How about some defense?
No, I'm just saying. And even in LeBron's case,
he's none defense, not all defense.
People get on him about the defense today.
Yeah,
but we've seen it. We've seen
LeBron?
the guy. Yeah, we've seen it.
He's 41 years old.
I understand. If you have to depend on the 41-year-old, we're in trouble anyway.
Come on, Luka's 26.
I'm saying prior to that, anytime you have a guy like that who can switch 1 through 5, you saw in the finals, guarding Duncan to Kawhi to Tony Parker to Ginobili.
Dude, you don't have to tell me. In, what was it, 12 or 13, when LeBron went crazy defensively, that was the best defensive player I've ever seen in my life in basketball is Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was the best defensive player I've ever seen. He could legit guard 1 through 5, and it was a problem for that player. He had the best defensive and rebounding instincts I've ever seen.
Well, that was a conversation yesterday.
What's that?
I sent you the clip.
Oh, Draymond?
Yeah. But not to go off on that.
No.
Not to go
Draymond
off on that,
offensively could do more, and Draymond changed the game.
That was a good, I thought that was a good topic.
No question. We could do it if you want. But defensively, my point is the closest thing I've ever seen to Dennis Rodman defensively, it's going to sound funny, was LeBron James that year. It was LeBron James when he could switch onto Derrick Rose, and there wasn't anything he couldn't do.
But the point I'm saying is,
fantastic. So you heard his thoughts, right? So when I heard this, as I said, we were on break. I posted on the channel 1 day ago, and I wrote this. I said, Max Kellerman just said LeBron James is the greatest defender in NBA history. He is saying he is a better defender than Dwight Howard, Ron Artest, may the world peace, Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tony Allen, Dikembe Mutombo, Cooper, Bill Russell, Draymond, Garnett, Dumars, Shane Battier, Bruce Bowen, Marcus Camby, Alonzo Mourning, Maurice Cheeks, Gary Payton, David Robinson, Kareem, Ben Wallace, and Walt Frazier. I then concluded my statement by saying the following. That, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the top 10 stupidest basketball takes of all time. Now, I want to read the commentary because this particular post we put on our channel had 560 comments. Let's read through some of the comments. One guy said someone slipped him a check. Another viewer said, we're all gathered here today because of the loss of Max Kellerman. Obviously being sarcastic. Another viewer said, couldn't even defend little Jason Terry. Another guy said, Kellerman is on some expensive drugs. One other person said, I've been saying that Max Kellerman is a grifter. Another viewer, they done got to Max too. Another guy said, Max just destroyed any future opinion he has on NBA. Another viewer said, how do you say I'm on payroll without saying it? One viewer said, okay, so this is what Stephen A. Smith was talking about. Another guy said, Max is on something. I'm a LeBron fan, and that's total crap. And then one viewer said, Jasmine, I think it's a woman, said, now Charles and Wiley can take Kellerman off that pedestal once and for all. And then one final person said, Max is a clown. And it goes on and on and on and on. What are my thoughts about what Max Kellerman said? I don't understand what Max Kellerman is talking about. I don't understand what Max Kellerman is actually talking about. I don't understand it. I don't get what he means. All of the guys that I just listed are better defenders than LeBron. Not to say that LeBron, when he was in Miami, he wasn't a good defender, a great defender. Yes, he was a great defender. No one is taking that away from him. But to say that he's the greatest defender ever, that is you're trolling. You're not being serious when you say something like that. You're taking the audience for a bunch of fools because you're assuming that we don't know about all of these other NBA players. You're assuming that you're the only one that watch basketball. No one with any sense will tell you that LeBron is a better defender than Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Ben Wallace, Ron Artest, Kawhi Leonard, Scottie Pippen, Kobe Bryant. No one would say that. No one. All of those guys I just listed are way better defenders. And this is the thing that I've always said. It's not enough to just give LeBron his props. You now have to give him things he doesn't deserve. That's the problem. You're now giving him things that other people have, you're giving it to him. It's one thing if you said, man, 2013 LeBron was one of the greatest. I mean, he was a great defender. But to say the greatest defender ever, that's a lie. That's a lie. You're insulting the intelligence of NBA fans that watch the sport, that consume the sport. You're insulting us. What are we talking about? LeBron is a better defender than Kawhi Leonard? Really? Is this what we're saying? Like, what are we talking about? The same Kawhi that they put on Giannis Antetokounmpo during the 2019 finals? That Kawhi? He's a better defender than Scottie Pippen? Really? Really? LeBron has made 6 all-defensive teams in his NBA career. 6 in 23 years. 6 of them. Jordan made 9 and won a Defensive Player of the Year. And Jordan made the all-first defensive team. The last time he made it was at the age of 35. LeBron hasn't even made an all-defensive team since he was 30 years old. 30. So for the last, 10 years, he hasn't made an all-defensive team. For the last 10 years. What about Scottie? Kobe made it 12. Ben Wallace, look at all of those Defensive Player of the Year awards. Tony Allen, Dwight Howard. So for you to say this, I'm like, okay, you're hurting yourself, your credibility when it comes to ball. And this is what a lot of people were ultimately afraid of. Once you start getting close to them dudes, you start saying stuff like this, bro. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Well, what's the next? You gonna say LeBron is the greatest shooter you ever seen in 2000? Like, come on. Like, yo, what are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing? He can guard all 5 positions. You're gonna put LeBron James on Shaq? Really? Really? You're gonna put LeBron on Shaq for a series? You're gonna put LeBron James on Kevin Garnett in a series, or Tim Duncan in a series? A prime Tim Duncan. You're gonna put him on him. Like, what are we?